twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fights. Oh, the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave out through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land under the fray, and the home of the brave.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Freedom Network. I'm Gary Rosenberg, your host, and you have found us yet once again, possibly here locally in Northbridge, right here on channel 191 local. You may have found us online. I know a lot of people have been finding us online. Facebook is something. We even had a couple of emails about it. We'll go over that. Our email is up there. Our phone number is up there. As always, our lines are open. You can call and talk about any politics of any kind or any goings-on that you want to do. TimO'Gary@gmail.com is how you get in on the good old, it's amazing how times change where you don't even need the phone anymore. I mean, we get the emails popping right on in. We get them popping right on in. So that's cool. As a matter of fact, we just got one popping right now. We haven't been on the air 2 minutes yet. But no, really, it is cool. If you want to call, you're always, of course, welcome to call. Find our group on Facebook, The Freedom Network, if you find me, with a little American flag next to my name. You'll certainly be able to find the group. It's growing. It's pretty neat, how you can... Facebook is an amazing medium to reach people. When we did the website... which we will eventually get back with when Donnie and I can finally get a little bit of time here together. We'll get it together, and we will get it back. We had 120,000 members on that, and it's a movement that has grown over the years. The Freedom Network, some brand new viewers from around started this as a... It was supposed to be a liberal and a conservative is how it was supposed to be. Tim Corkum producing a show down in Stoughton, Massachusetts, which is where I'm originally from. And it ballooned into something that just kind of took on its own life. And, started with Tim. And you know what? It just really... we still use the same email and everything. That's where the Tim O'Gary. I had an email. The reason I'm telling you this story is because... we had an email. They were wondering, who is Tim? Who is Tim? Tim is one of the founders of the Freedom Network. So that's who he is. And that's how we pay our little homage to him for helping us get going and for helping it to really become something. Anyway, enough of that kind of stuff. What did we get for emails? We got from Sonny. Sonny says to me... Well, Sonny also likes to talk about the water meters. Now, from what I understand... Okay, these things can be hacked. It's like any wireless device; it can be hacked. For what reason? I guess is something that you got to look at a little bit differently, because it's not just people hack into things just to be a nuisance. So it doesn't really have to matter, but that does exist, and there are some safety concerns about it. I've been doing some research into it a little bit, and I'll tell you that there's a lot of unknowns when it comes to them. And sometimes it can just be change that people don't like. But you know what? Having a government agency of any kind, or quasi-government agency of any kind, because a lot of these privatized things are just that. They're still government. In your house like that. But they are. I mean, they're in the phones. They're on they can turn on the cameras and computers and on cell phones, I understand now. So, Sonny, you should be concerned about it, I think. We should always be concerned about giving up any privacy or anything. In this one, Sonny wants to know, has the Northbridge Town Manager or Board of Selectmen ever responded to the excellent town concern questions you submitted at the town to the town manager? May have been almost 4 months ago. Some may refer to these as the Freedom Network questions to our town government. That approximately, it's a little jumbled here when it came through. It looks like 400 or 500 people were in suggestive members of a town Facebook group that you presented their questions, concerns as an excellent wordsmith. Thank you, Sonny. Plus, you also asked for a follow-up response at the Board of Selectmen meeting almost 2 months ago during the citizen concerns section of that Board of Selectmen's meeting, if correct. Yes. No, we did do that, Sonny. I haven't heard. I haven't called. I haven't asked. I'm done with the calling. I'm done with the asking. I'm going to move forward, and we got a few things here at the network on the burner, if you will. There's way more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. But you know what? I'll tell you something, Sonny. Politicians are politicians. Doesn't matter if you're in Northbridge or if you're in Washington, D.C. There is an absolute, I don't know what even to call it, whether it's an ego or a chip on the shoulder or whatever it is. But you're right. We sat. Just to make it clear, we did sit, and you know what? I thought he was good. I thought the town manager did as good a job as he could while he was there. I really do. I mean, he did answer as we talked to and had a whole conversation with Elizabeth a couple of weeks back, and he did answer some of the questions that he could, but nobody ever got back to anybody. Let's face it. Okay, that was circle filed. That's what happened to that thing. That's the reality of it. That's just the reality of it. And you know what? I think it's pretty sad that in our little town here, we had no one running against anyone. That was that's a little upsetting. So I don't know. You know, maybe we're gonna have to get a couple of ponies in the race, as they say. And I have talked to a few people that may be interested in doing something. But now we got a long way to go now before we have to deal with that again. But that's why your voter turnout was low in this town, which is a historically high voting town. But what are you going to vote for? I mean, there was the money for the trucks and stuff, and that was really it. Say it all the time. People are busy. You know, you want them to show up somewhere. I guess you got to. There's got to be something more on it for them. In any event, it was a landslide win for every single person that ran because nobody ran against them. Sad. It is sad. We all should probably take a turn and run. I'm not kidding you on that either. All right, Sonny. Enough, Sonny. Now, that's it. You've taken 8 minutes of the program already, Sonny. Let's see. Bethany. Hey, Gary. We see you all the way from Ohio. Love the show and glad we found you on Facebook. Hello, Ohio. Hello, Bethany and company, whoever the we is. Glad that you're there. Facebook's amazing, isn't it? The reach is absolutely positively amazing. Tim says, Gary, can you get that guy from the Tea Party back on the show? You're talking about Matt O'Brien is who you're talking about. I know he sometimes does view the program. I have tried to get a hold of him. I'm trying to get him back on. He is busy. They are busy. It's presidential season. There's all kinds. It's election season, amping up. But he will be on. If I have to go get him in Worcester and physically bring him here for you, we will have him on. Thanks for having Barbara Anderson on your program. She was here our last program. You've had some really cool guests. Thanks. Keep them coming. You know, people that want to get a message out, it's a great way to get a message out. Local, grassroots, that's activist, and it's activism at its best. And that's Barbara. Barbara is an activist. That's what she is. And she's an activist for the people. Let me tell you, if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't have Prop 2.5. If it wasn't for her, you wouldn't have a lot of ballot questions, let's say, the process of having them. You know, not every state can even do that. But boy, CLT does a great job with it, and their website's great too. I go check them out. Just Google CLT, or Citizens for Limited Taxation. It'll pop up all over the place. Roger, Gary, I love Obama. Ha ha. Okay, Roger, you can love Obama, and I do think it's pretty funny. Paul, how is it that people actually think Hillary Clinton should be president? I do not understand the thought process. How are they so easily fooled? I agree with you. Same goes for Jeb Bush. This is not a monarchy where families pass on being in charge. You made a great point about this a few weeks back, and spot on, Gary. I totally agree. Well, Paul, it's true, and it's unfortunate. Excuse me, lingering cold allergies. Sorry about that. But it's very interesting that people don't realize that from 1988 until 2016, possibly another 8 years after 2016, you do the math. You're going to have Bushes, you're going to have Obamas, you're going to have Clintons. That's it. 1988 to what could be 2024? Think about that. If you're going to vote for either of those two people, you really better think about that. Oh boy, Paul. All right, Harold. Harold says, Gary, what are your thoughts on political parties and money in government and elections? I hear somewhere over $1 billion would be spent on the next election. This seems to be insanity, but nobody cares, I guess. Well, it is insanity. I care. You seem to care, Harold. What do I think about political parties? Not much these days. Not much at all. And money in government and elections is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It should all be pulled out. It should be absolutely, positively pulled out. There should be no monetary nothing going on with it. It should just be people going to do the work for the people and then going home to their real jobs. We do not need to have the full-time government that we have in the United States of America. We just don't need to have it. It's a class all in and of itself. The concentration of wealth that surrounds and is in Washington and the surrounding area this is an absolute class. This is a class, folks. This isn't just a small group of people. This is a class. You've got the low class, you've got the middle class, you've got the upper class, and then you've got the government class, and they supersede everybody, and it's disgusting. It's disgusting. So, Howard, let's take a look at how much the candidates did spend, because it's more than you think. I don't mean to get you upset, and how much they got for it. So, we put, let's see, Barack Obama, Mitt Romney, and Gary Johnson, who was a Libertarian nominee. So here's how you can get a little bit of perspective here. All right, candidates, here we go. Barack Obama received 65,899,660 votes. He got 51.03%. A little convenient. I know, I got my people out there. I know I got my folks out there that don't even believe the elections are real. Do you think the elections are real? I'd like to get some emails on that. timandgary@gmail.com, or certainly a phone call, but I'd like to get some feeling. Do you think that the whole system is rigged? Do you think that there are no real elections? Be a pretty big conspiracy. Pretty big conspiracy, but maybe not. I'll see what I get for emails. So anyway, he spent $683,546,000. Cost him $10.37 a vote. The total expenditure, though, that was spent on his campaign, when you now add in all the money, Harold, all the stuff that you're talking about, money in elections that you alluded to, you're looking at, there's a lot of comments here, $1,103,019,185. Just on him, Harold. That's $16.73 for every vote. Now, if you compare that to Romney, got just about 61,000 votes. He spent only $433 million, only, compared to the almost 700 that Obama spent. He paid $7.11 for his votes, personally, but the total expense was 1.2, so actually more. Not a lot more, but a little bit more. $1.2 billion. That's $20.09 a vote Mitt Romney paid. And Gary Johnson got a little over 1.25 million votes. He got just under 1%. He took no outside money. He spent $2.5 million of his own dollars and paid $1.96 per vote. So yeah, and this is all to get a job that pays what, $500,000 or something like that. Pretty interesting, isn't it? So, last election, my friend Harold, you were talking it was over almost $2.33 billion. For the next election, Harold, we're going to see probably close to $4 billion spent, for your information. Close to $4 billion spent. And you don't think there's a problem, folks, out there? Just maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit of a problem, huh? It's bright in here. Is it bright in here? I feel like I'm beaming on it. Maybe it's my position. I moved over a little bit from where I normally sit, huh? I should sit over here. Woo! Let me tell you, man, they start throwing those dollars around, and what happens is they buy favors. They buy laws. They're selling out the Americans for the money. That's what's happening to perpetuate the machine of power. There's no need for a presidential election to cost $2, $3, or $4 billion. I say take it all out. All this lobbying, flying people around, bringing them on these lavish meals and this and that, and then they go and they vote a certain way. To be honest with you, they should be thrown out. Maybe even criminal charges should be filed. I mean, how is this normal, ethical, constitutional, or legal to go on and let people wine and dine you and give you all kinds of things, and the next thing you know, the law's passed. Regulation is eased. This regulation's put in place. This hurts this one, this helps that one. How much money did they give? To who did they give it? And then what will they get in return for it? I don't know when America's going to wake up and say enough is enough. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. So who's in the field? Who's running? Who's going to be spending this money? Who's going to be, what are we looking at here? Fox polls were out, as were many others. NBC, I've got some polling data that we can look at from as recently as now, as the end of last week, and some of it back a little bit. So this is what I got. I've got the actual questions that they were asking. Okay, so we actually have the verbatim that they were asking. So like Fox asked, I'm going to read a list of potential candidates for the 2016 Republican nomination. Now, they did this for the Democrats, too, so don't everybody get crazy. But so did NBC and so did CBS. They all did them. Please tell me which one you would like to see as the Republican presidential nominee. And they just list them down. Jeb Bush. Was it, and I'm not going to give you every date and every number. My God, would be here forever. But these, I will show you the trend, and the trend ended last week. Jeb Bush tops it, though. He tops it for now. Didn't always top it, but he's topping it now, and that is of grave concern to me. Just grave concern to me. Because it's just not right. It's just not right on so many levels. It's just not right that we're going to have 30, 40 years of Bushes and Clintons and Obamas. Man, what are we doing to America? Jeb Bush sits, he went from a 12, dropped down to a 9, back up to a 13%. Ben Carson kicks it in that second spot. You know, Ben Carson's a guy I think that you better watch. And you better watch him probably as possibly a next time, possibly a vice presidential candidate, possibly gaining some traction. But there's a few things about old Ben that will eventually come out that they'll talk about business-wise and things like that. And we can't get into everybody's personal lives here, but that, you know, I don't know how that's going to play. The media will not be friendly with him. But I'm going to tell you something. He's tied with Jeb Bush at 13% right now. That's pretty impressive. Scott Walker is right behind them at 11, and then Huckabee is at 10. Marco Rubio's at 9, and then it just kind of falls off. Rand Paul at 7, Christie at 6, tied with Ted Cruz. I like Ted Cruz. I do. I like them. I mean, I don't know if I love any of these people, but I certainly could see. And then you've got Donald Trump in there. You've got Rick Perry and Santorum. None of these people have a chance, and you know what? Lindsey Graham, Pataki, none of the above actually gets 3%. None of the above gets more than, gets more than Perry, Santorum, Lindsey Graham, George Pataki. That's pretty sad, guys. That's pretty sad. But your top four, Jeb, Ben, Scott, and Mike Huckabee. Now, this is interesting. NBC comes out with one. And this is what they said. You always got to listen to the words. And still thinking about people who might seek the Republican nomination for president in 2016. If the next Republican primary for president were being held today, which one of the following candidates would you favor? And if you're unsure, which way would you lean? See, they didn't give an unsure. We did see an unsure in the Fox poll, and the Fox poll had unsures at 10%, almost as high as front-runner status. So there's a lot of, they're not going to allow for a not sure because they want to throw the NBC desperately wants to throw the numbers to Jeb Bush. So they say, if you're unsure, which way do you lean? Like, what are you thinking? Which it really is not a good way to take a poll. You want to make people answer a question. But they put Jeb Bush at 23%. And then they have Marco Rubio at 18%, followed by Walker at 14%, then Rand Paul and Ted Cruz at 11%, and then Carson at 7%. So it's interesting, isn't it? Who were they polling? What? These are same date. Who are they calling? You can't trust the news, folks. You can't trust it. You can't trust it. They did leave an unsure, but it didn't have anything in it. Rick Perry only at 2%. Mike Huckabee. Why do these guys keep running? I don't understand it. I guess I just don't get it. I mean, yeah, I understand they're not saying some are not saying they're running, some are saying. But yeah, if you ain't got a chance, why? You know why? Money. They raise money. Stupid. Sure, they'll raise money. Okay, this comes from, and it's all smudged here. I think this was from Quinnipiac University, I think. Anyway, this was 567 registered voters. The other ones were about 500 and 600 registered voters who are Republican or lean Republican. They say, this is interesting, they put Marco Rubio up top. What do you think about that? What do you think about him? What do you think about Marco? Interesting. They put Jeb Bush right under him and then Scott Walker. Then Ted Cruz. See, I'm going to tell you something. So far, I may have to go with Ted Cruz. I might. I'm not 100% on this yet. I'll let you know as obviously we get closer, but that's kind of where I'm leaning. I will not vote for Bush. I won't do it. I just won't do it. I won't vote for Bush. I won't vote for Clinton. I'm just not going to do it. So what this university did is then they took Bush out of it, and Marco Rubio tops that ticket. He actually does better with him off of the ticket. And Walker then stays. It would go Rubio, Walker, Cruz. This stuff fascinates me, and I'll tell you why it fascinates me. Because I like to look at what they look at. You know, when they sample 500 or 600 people, and again, you've got all the usual suspects at the bottom. When they sample these people and they do it right, it's amazing how some of these polls, you can get 1,000 people together. And you could crunch all these numbers together. Unfortunately, we're still going to see old Jeb up on top, which I don't like. I don't like it. So then Fox News did Democrats. Same verbiage, except instead of saying Republican, it said Democrat. Hillary Clinton, recently, 63% over Elizabeth Warren's 13%. Joe Biden at 6%. Bernie Sanders at 6%. Andrew Cuomo at 2%, and then it just tapers right off the map. 63%. Democrats know how to throw a party. That's for sure. That's for sure. You don't have a lot of open minds in the Democrat Party. It's very obvious in the polling data. It's very obvious in the polling data. They tell you what to do. You do it like a good soldier. You look at the Republican field. It's all spread. You know, this one's got 14. This one's got 13. This one's got 8. This one's got 10. It could go any way. It could go any way. Let's see. We got an email coming in here. Gary. Very interesting. It is very interesting. This emailer said he likes to go over the data because he just said the same thing I just said. He likes to read and to see what it is, and then to use that, excuse me, and see what actually happens. See what really happens with these polls. And I'll tell you something, they're not usually too far off. We haven't seen a lot of big upsets, I don't think. I think he kind of had an idea of who's going to win everything. Pretty much 63%, and it's grown. It's grown since March, and look at what's going on with her now. And we'll talk about that too. Elizabeth Warren is just, oh my God, and Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders. Can you imagine any of these people being the president of the United States? Oh, it's all right. We said the same thing about Obama. Let's see. Here we go. This one. Yeah, this is a very good one. This is a very good one because this is Anderson Roberts research and Shaw and Company research. This is a mixture, okay? These are Democrat Party voters nationwide, and they get the same number almost. 62% for Hillary, then 12% for Warren, and then you've got Biden at 9%, and everybody else is under 5%, and that includes Mr. Sanders, who's just announced. I heard he had 5,000 people in Vermont at his rally. I did. I heard. I mean, I know they were giving stuff away, I think, and whatnot, and not a lot happens in that area. So, I think it was a pretty big day for old Bernie. This is probably the biggest crowd he's going to draw. Is right there. Now, when they take Clinton out, Joe Biden shoots up to 36%. Elizabeth Warren can't get up and over it, but she does shoot up to 24% herself. But I'll tell you what's interesting. What's interesting about Biden is his numbers are just slipping. Now, not that he's announced that he's going to run or anything that I know of, but it's interesting that as this thing gets closer to an end, people, I think, have had enough. They've had enough. Plus, he's a good foot soldier for his party. The Republicans just go for it, all right? And sometimes they're good and sometimes they stink. Lately, they've stunk a whole lot. But you know what? They are far more independent. These Democrats are like, this is what you will do. And when they take Hillary out, they don't know what to do. Well, what do you mean? Well, if you didn't want Hillary. I mean, if Hillary wasn't running. But she's who we were told we had to vote for. I'm telling you. So they didn't know what to do. So what'd they do? Go to Biden, because at least he's on the list, and he's the fearless leader now. He's the highest ranking man on the list. What's wrong with you guys over there on the left? All right, this one back from the university. Puts Hillary Clinton at 60%. Biden at 10%, Sanders at 8%. That's the best Sanders has done. Then you got Martin O'Malley at 3%. And unsure or no answer actually is in second place with 14%. Now, it's interesting, when they take Hillary out, they take out Hillary and Joe Biden flies right up to the top. Right up to the top. So it's interesting. Now, CNN. Again, I don't know who CNN polls and who Fox polls and all that stuff. Interesting, yeah. I was going, you know what it is I've got my email on my phone and I've got it here and it's going crazy everywhere. Gary, these numbers are absolutely amazing. I've been looking around online and I'm finding very similar numbers. Why doesn't the left have a mind? Why do they just walk lockstep with everything that everybody says? Well, it's because what they're told to do. These are the brainwashed. They think they're enlightened. They think they know. They think they've got this handle on stuff, and they think I'm crazy. right? They think you're crazy because you're a conservative. You're how could you think that? I just want to follow the Constitution. That's what I want. That's it. I don't want all this money and all this BS and all this crap around the government. I want to follow the Constitution of the United States of America. If that makes me a radical, so be it. Guilty as charged. CNN. I'm going to read a list of people who may be running for Democratic primaries for president in 2016. After I read all the names, please tell me which of these candidates you would most likely support for the Democrat nomination. Or if you would support someone else. And then they read Hillary Clinton, 69%. 10 points higher than the university. The university's been right, by the way, on past two elections, almost to the number, within just a fraction of a point. But Joe Biden sticks in there at 11%. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? It just amazes me. Let's see. Monmouth University poll. Registered Democrats. I know the 2016 election is far away, but who would you support for the Democrat nomination if the candidates were Hillary, Biden, Sanders, and then O'Malley and the others? 60% Hillary. So what we're seeing here is a pattern, right? I mean, we are seeing a clear pattern of just absolute positive lockstep. This is what I'm doing. All right, now this, I know the Bernie Sanders people are out there very excited. My good friend of mine, Andy, I don't know if you're out there watching, but I'm sure you must be happy that the man is running. There are people that's what they are. They're true to their cause, and that's their cause. It's doesn't fit too well with freedoms and liberty and things like that when you want to constantly put the government in everybody's life, but it's how they feel. But these foot soldiers, that these 60 and 70% of the people, they're saying that they're going to go with who they're told to go with. If you are answering and saying to yourself right now, I'd probably vote for Hillary, I want you to tell me something. Why? The big WHY. If Hillary didn't run, Biden tops the ticket again, and that's where they're going to go, because that's where they have to go, because no one told them. See, and that's what's interesting in these polls, and that's what drew me to them, is that they took it out, and when they take out, every time when they take out Hillary, it reverts back to Biden, who isn't even going to probably be involved in this whole thing. But he's the standard bearer. He's the guy. He's the next corrupt guy that they want to throw in there, and people buy this lockstep. It's just awful. Do you think it would be better if the Democrats got behind Hillary early in the nominating process? I think they already have. Or would it be better if there was an active primary challenger? So better if got behind Clinton, 41%. Better if there was an active primary challenge, 50%, with 9 unsure. You got to figure half of the 9 would go one way, half of the 9 would go the other way. If you do that, you're looking at, 45, 55. So there's hope. There's hope. But we know where you're going to go anyway. You can answer the question however you want, but we know where you're going to go anyway. It's sad. It's sad, but true. Gary, you're 100% right. The numbers prove it. I love when you take the numbers and just explain them. Let me tell you something, my friend. We are screwed. I think you might be right. That comes from Tony. Tony, we are. We're in the process of it now. It's happening. As we speak, it's happening. Washington Times and anywhere else you want to look, all over the place the other day. Federal Appeals Court refused to lift an injunction against President Obama's deportation amnesty in a ruling, this was yesterday, that delivers a second major legal setback to the administration and keeps millions of illegal immigrants on hold. You shouldn't be on hold. You should be on buses and planes going back where you need to go. That's where you should be. I'm sorry. I know it's a touchy subject, but you know what? Here's where I'm at. And then we'll get into this and the whys. To those that want to have this type of a policy, I always ask why. And they say because we need the workers, they do jobs Americans won't do, the list that goes on and on. It's nonsense, but they have a list nonetheless. And it's the same list. See, it's the same list. We know. We get it. See, that's what I don't understand is how do you guys think that we don't see right through you? But okay. So you come in with your list, and you have your list, and I always say the same thing. When was the last time you advocated to increase the legal immigration? To up that number? Well, what do you mean? Well, that's exactly what I mean. Why do you want to reward people that broke the law? Why don't you want to bring people in? Look at, you shouldn't need social benefits of any kind for anybody coming to the United States of America. What country would want to take people on that can't support themselves? I mean, this is insanity is what this is. It's complete and utter insanity. It's just a way to get more votes, to get people more dependent on the government. Why can't this be seen? U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit sided with a lower court that ruled Mr. Obama probably broke the law in taking unilateral action last year to grant amnesty from deportation. Three-judge panel ruled 2-1, shot down Obama's hopes of quickly, restarting the amnesty and really pushing it through. And he's probably going to have to go to the Supreme Court if he wants to try to win his case. Isn't that something? We've got the legislative branch, we've got the executive branch, we've got the judicial branch. Never did I think that it would be the judicial branch that would have to rein in. It just goes to show you how smart they were when they made this thing, right? They were so smart when they set it up. If we would just follow it and not allow the corruption that we have, and the corruption is disgusting. I mean, just the whole Federal Reserve is disgusting. The whole monetary system is out of control. The debt, the spending, the fact that you really are, you're counted on to get in debt. You're counted on to be in debt. It's just awful. It's just awful. Oh, okay. The majority, Judges Jerry Smith and Jennifer Elrod, said the president's new program, known as Deferred Action for Parental Accountability. What does that even mean? Again, who thinks that you're that stupid? Or are you? I don't know. Is a binding policy that should have gone through the usual public notice and comment period instead of being announced unilaterally by Mr. Obama and Homeland Security late last year. Jay Johnson, Homeland Security Secretary. Homeland Security Secretary. Let's grant everybody amnesty. Come on. I mean, are you for real? Do you actually support these people? Are there really people out there that support this kind of crap? Good Lord. We live in a nation governed by a system of checks and balances, and the president's attempt to bypass the will of the American people was successfully checked again today. This comes from Greg Abbott. He's Texas governor, who, as his state's attorney general last year, began the lawsuit challenging this new amnesty. 25 states joined Texas and sued to halt the amnesty, arguing that they would bear new costs and having to issue driver's licenses to illegal immigrants and provide health care and other services to them. The state said the president's actions were unconstitutional or at the very least illegal. And this is what I said before. How is it that you want to have people come or stay in your country that cannot support themselves? And in many cases, they have no intention of supporting themselves. Stop the brainwashed crap about these jobs that nobody else will do, because I know that before we had all this big illegal immigration problem, before we had 30 million or 20 million, whatever the stupid number is, illegals in this country, are you trying to tell me that lawns didn't get mowed, that no one ate fruit? We didn't have anybody that worked in the fields back in 1943? There was no lawns got mowed. They must have been up to here. They must have been up to here. No dishes must have got done in any restaurant ever. We must have eaten off of dirty dishes. Because Americans don't want to do any of those jobs, so we have to pull these people in, give them welfare and all this other junk. For what? Not once has one of my liberal friends advocated to increase the legal path to outside to inside citizenship. You just simply want to grant amnesty. Easy way out, and it ensures you a whole lot of votes. Don't forget, hardworking people that come over here legally usually come over here for things like, I want to live under that Constitution. And they don't vote for Democrats. And that's why they don't advocate to bring more of them in. Pardon me. So, first a district court and now a federal appeals court have sided with Texas, serving as twin legal rebukes to Obama and his defenders, who had insisted the steps that he took were consistent with the law and previous president's actions, because he wants to say, well, Ronald Reagan did it. Ronald Reagan, look, he was a great president. I agree with everything he did? I absolutely don't agree with anything any of them do. This is what I'm saying. Democrats don't understand that. They're like, well, if you like this guy, you voted for this guy, then you must pray to him. You must bow down before him. He must be your God, and you'll do what you're told by this God. And I will continue to put this false prophet up so I can worship him. That's what the Democrats have become. It's what they've become. I'm sorry, but it's what you become. Immigrant rights advocates. How about illegal immigrant right advocates? Say they will keep fighting and try to cast both the district and the appeals court as legal outliers. A couple emails came in. Gary, spot on. We like that around here, spot on. I see that. It must come in like 10 times a week. That comes from Jamie. Let's see, don't use my name. Gary, I live local to you. Please keep my name private. I got you, bud. Somebody should really call the Northbridge police. Maybe they'll do something about the illegals that we have in this town. Yes, I said in this town. Did I say that we had them in this town? Yes, you did. I don't know how you know that, but I'm going to tell you something. I happen to know it too. And so do other people. You want to do something about it? Do something about it. Okay? You know who they are? Call the police. I don't know what our police department would do. I don't know. I really, honestly, and truly don't know what they would do, if they would do anything. I would hope that they would do something, because it's against the law, isn't it, to be in the country. We're on the right side of history, the right side of justice. Executive Director of the National Immigration Law Center. That's fine, but let me ask you something, National Immigration Law Center. What about the legal path from the outside, starting out there and coming to America legally? Do you advocate to increase the number that are allowed to come? Or do you just are you just part of a machine that's out to get dependency, which turns into votes, and before you know it, folks, you won't even have to bother voting anymore. Trust me. The rulings don't affect his 2012 amnesty for so-called dreamers, which has already granted tentative legal status to more than 600,000 illegal immigrants. And it doesn't take away from Mr. Obama's ability to decline to deport illegal immigrants. That means none of the more than 4 million people in question are likely to be kicked out of the country. 4 million people. But the judges have ruled that Obama can't go further and grant many of those people affirmative status, carrying all sorts of benefits, including driver's license. Tax credits. They're going to get tax credits. Did you hear that they were going to give these people tax? This is what they were going to do. They were going to say, file your tax return. Don't keep your money underground. File your tax return. Most of you, okay, are in poverty. And what will happen is you will then get the earned income tax credit, whatever the heck that means. But I'll tell you what it means. You get about $1,200 back or whatever it is. They were going to give that to them. Your money. Your money. Immigrants' rights advocates challenged Obama to use his authority to halt all deportations until they can find a way to work with Congress on a new immigration law. That'll be my last straw. my last straw with the Republicans. You cave in on this. Let it go to the Supreme Court. Maybe they'll do the right thing. We call on President Obama to immediately act on that power by halting all deportations until a day when our broken immigration system can be replaced by humane, rational policies that recognize the value and humanity of our immigrant community members. Listen, they're illegals. An immigrant community is what you find when you go to a community and you find, look, I grew up in Stoughton. We had a lot of Portuguese people in Stoughton, right? I mean, a lot. So there were areas in town. There'd be a lot of Portuguese people live there. That's an immigrant community. You know what? Most of them were there legally. They worked hard. They didn't collect welfare. They took care of their stuff, took care of their kids. They had mothers and fathers. They came to America for something, for their family, and they did it the right way. They don't do it the right way anymore. They just come right over the border when Obama just opens it up. Come on in. Don't you realize who else may have snuck in? I just can't understand it. So the ruling hinged large part on the findings of District Judge Andrew Hannon, who halted the program in February, just 2 days before it was to accept its first applications. He ruled that on an earlier version of the amnesty, which Obama announced in 2012, applied so-called young adult dreamers, shows the Obama administration was approving most applications. Now, Hannon said that that undercut Obama's argument that he was showing discretion rather than issuing a binding policy. A technicality. I love it. Oh, I love it. Judges said it would be unfair to illegal immigrants to let the program go into effect on the off chance that it's later ruled illegal or unconstitutional, because the government would then have a list of people who came forward but didn't get status. They also denied a government request to allow amnesty to go into effect in the 24 states that didn't sue, saying it was critical to have a uniform rule on immigration, as the Constitution requires. Oh! The Constitution! Do we have a Constitution in the United States of America? Not according to the left. Judge Higginson dissented from the ruling, saying he would have left the fight over immigration policy to the White House and Congress, saying Obama should have broad discretion to decide who gets deported and how he goes about that. He also said that the fight was a political battle, not a legal one, and said the court should stay out of it altogether. Why should the court stay out of it altogether if they're not following the Constitution? Why? Political nature of this dispute is clear from the names of the briefs: hundreds of mayors, police chiefs, sheriffs, attorneys generals, governors, and state legislatures. Not to mention 185 members of Congress, 15 states, the District of Columbia on the one hand, and 113 members of Congress in 26 states on the other. This is exactly why we have courts, Mr. Higginson. The immigrant rights people love them, the others don't. Blah, blah, blah. Now, Obama's going to have to decide what he's going to do next here. It's embarrassing to him. It's a defeat. This is a guy that has a degree from Harvard Law School, taught the University of Chicago, but he doesn't know the law. The Harvard Law School is going to get a bad reputation. Turns out that their most famous graduate has a problem obeying the law. He had hoped Congress would pass a law legalizing illegal immigrants. I mean, this is so stupid. I can't even go on. I can't go on. I cannot go on. Homeland Security Secretary asked for an internal investigation to try to figure out how his employees violated a judge's order, because the administration has all kinds of legal troubles, violating Hannon's February injunction by approving 2,000 amnesties even after the court had ordered its halt. So the department is blaming a technical glitch. It's kind of like Hillary's emails. A technical glitch. Oh, God. Speaking of Clinton, look out. Another scandal. How could anyone want this family back in the White House? Again, it's beyond me. Clinton Foundation scandal is growing. Donation scandal. It's looking bad. Am I good for a few minutes? I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. He'll come running. Forbes is reporting the Clinton Foundation first front of perceived impropriety is with speaking engagement fees. Hillary Clinton's time as Secretary of State, Bill, Hillary, and Chelsea Clinton earned a combined $26.4 million in speaking fees. Billy was the big earner, giving 3 speeches with a speaking price ranging from $500,000 to $1 million for each one. Many of the speeches were given to foreign countries and foreign and United States-owned corporations. The issue here with the speaking fees is what was done with them. All the money was handed to the Clinton Foundation. The legality of this, I guess, is tied up now with some tax laws. Is there a legal way to hand over earned fees to a foundation without reporting it? I don't know. Essentially, America's top courts and the Internal Revenue Service have stood behind the idea that the one who earned the fee is responsible for taxes on the fee. There's no assigning a tax burden to a foundation or corporation. Sticky point, though, is that the Clintons and the Clinton Foundation have pledged to amend their tax filings to correct any possible errors. The IRS can still assign penalties and prosecute tax filers based on the initial filing, regardless of amendments. Hey, Gary, this is quite a story that you just got into. I'm psyched you're covering it. Okay. Well, I'm happy to cover it for you. According to the International Business Times, this leads to the second front of perceived impropriety, foreign donations and possible influence peddling. Some of Hillary's duties while Secretary of State was to determine whether it was in the best interest of the United States to consider selling arms and war technology to foreign countries. One criteria that was supposed to be used in this consideration was the history of the prospective country in regards to human rights. Those countries with poor human right histories would be less considered for weapons sales. Now, the issue arises that a few countries with poor human rights histories, like Algeria, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, the UAE, were allowed to purchase weapons. The possible impropriety comes in when you consider that all of these countries donated thousands upon millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation, while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. Even with poor human rights histories, Clinton authorized their weapon sales to these countries after the countries donated to the Clinton Foundation. This woman should not be on a ballot, folks. She should be in the back of a bus headed towards a prison. Now consider that in Clinton's term as Secretary of State, 20 foreign nations were sold over $165 billion worth of weapons and war technology. That's while she was in office. And those nations donated to the Clinton Foundation. In 2008, the Clinton Foundation entered into an ethics agreement promising full transparency from all donations. And Clinton pledged it during her time as Secretary of State. She pledged to do nothing that could be perceived as improper. Really? Stephen Walt, professor of international affairs at Harvard University, said it best when he exclaimed this situation and concluded that the relationship between the Clinton Foundation, foreign countries looking to buy, and defense contractors looking to sell is a vivid example of a very big problem, the degree to which conflicts of interest have become endemic. Of course they have. Folks, excuse me. I'm going to tell you, flat out and right here, this woman is the exact thing we don't need. She's 100% wrong, but yet the left is running toward her. You see it in the polling data. The data doesn't lie. You do what you're told on the left, and it's disgusting already. It's enough. Put your country ahead of your brainwashed self. This is America. We're supposed to follow the Constitution. We're supposed to have freedom. We're supposed to have rights guaranteed to us. We're not supposed to be forced upon laws because and selling our weaponry, making us weaker because you wanted to get some money, honey. We're not supposed to be allowing people to come into the country illegally and then just let them stay. We shouldn't be allowing anyone to come into the country illegally. It just blows me away. It just blows me away. I'm sad. I'm sad. Are we going to go? Are they on tonight? They're not on tonight. Well, 3 and 11 is done, I guess, for the summer. Is that right? 3 on 11? Well, that's too bad. We're going to be here. We may take a couple weeks off here or there, but we're going to be here, folks, right here on the Freedom Network. Let me leave you with this. Let me leave you with one thing. One thing, Troy. We got 7 seconds here. I can't find it. Oh, here we go. Washington spent $1.8 million, our government, to help build a private golf course in Atlanta, Georgia. I'll leave you with that, okay? And you wonder why we don't have enough money to feed our own kids. My name is Gary Rosenberg. This is the Freedom Network. I'm very excited that you found us. Find me on Facebook. Find the group. Stay in touch with what's going on here. And we will see you next week.